Hey everyone, this is Math Done Right, and today we're going to be talking about the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry applies to parabolas. So if I draw my handy dandy little parabola right here, the axis of symmetry is this vertical line that goes through my parabola, just kind of like this. And I can see that if I were to take this side of my parabola and reflect it about this line, I would get the exact same side, right? So if I take this line, or this piece, reflect it over this line, I would then get this piece. So in math, we say that my parabola is symmetric about this line, or with respect to this line. And this vertical line right here is called the axis of symmetry. And notice that it's a vertical line, and all vertical lines have the form x equals something, right? We don't know what that something is, but we're going to learn on this next slide. Now, let's remember that the function for a quadratic looks something like ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, for any quadratic in this form, the axis of symmetry is given by this formula x equals minus b over 2a. So I take the coefficient from my x term, and that goes here, and then I take the coefficient from my x squared term, and that goes right here. All right, so this information comes from whatever my equation looks like. And so this is the formula. I'll put it in a nice little box. So if I were to draw my parabola, let's say it looks something like this, then this axis of symmetry is going to come down here like that. Oh, I don't want to use white. I want to use a different color. Let's use pink again. My axis of symmetry comes through right here, right? I can see if I reflect this over this line, I get this side. Now, what this x equals minus b over 2a, it says that this x value right here is minus b over 2a, is right here on my x-axis, and that the whole line x equals minus b over 2a is this kind of imaginary line that's right here. Now, if you were to come up and tell me, oh, the axis of symmetry is minus b over 2a, that doesn't mean anything. I don't know what that means. It has to be x equals minus b over 2a so that I know that it's a line, because this is just a number. I don't know what this is. This gives me the actual equation of a line. All right, and this line is this vertical pink line right here. And it's located on the x-axis at minus b over 2a. So now let's look at a few examples and find the axis of symmetry for those. All right. Oh, whoops, I do that a lot. I start with the green pen when I should be starting with white. Example numero uno. Let's look at the function f of x equals x squared plus, let's do 6x plus 3. I gotta make sure I use nice numbers here so that it's nice and pretty when I do the computation. So, to find the axis of symmetry, I have my little formula. X equals minus b over 2a. And this 6 is my b. And I don't have a number in front of x squared, but it's understood to be 1 when I write it this way. So a is 1, and b is 6. So now I go over to my little formula. So this is equal to minus 6 divided by 2 times 1, which gives me negative 3. So I have x equals negative 3 is my axis of symmetry. I'm going to use an abbreviation here. Axis of symmetry. So what that means is if I graph my function, right, I look at the a term, I know it's positive, so it's going to open upwards like this, like a U. And my axis of symmetry is -3. So I have 1, 2, 3. Let's go out to 6 or something. So I have this vertical line, x equals -3. So it looks something like that. And I know my parabola is symmetric about this line. Now, I don't know what the x-intercepts are. I didn't do that for this problem. I didn't find the y-intercept. All I'm really caring about for this video is the axis of symmetry. So I know that my parabola is going to look something like this. Right? If I were to take this side of the parabola and reflect it with respect to this line, I would get this side of the parabola. And that's all that the axis of symmetry is really doing. That's actually not true. The axis of symmetry also tells you the x-coordinate of the vertex. Notice how the vertex, which is either the highest or the lowest point on my parabola, is the axis of symmetry. So I have x equals -3 is this line, but then I know my vertex occurs when x is -3. That's going to be super useful for my next video, which is going to be how to find the vertex of a parabola. The first thing I'm going to do is find the axis of symmetry and then plug it into my function. But that's for another video. Let's do another example of the axis of symmetry. Alright, so for my next example, let's do f of x equals 3x squared minus 12x plus 5. So I'll write down the formula again, because I like to write down the formulas before I start stuff like this, just so I know what I'm doing. So I need to find my b and my a. Now, let's start with the b. The b comes from the coefficient of my x term, so I get b equals 12. Oh, it's actually -12. Ooh, don't forget the negative sign here. Alright, so that's a -12. And my a, let's use a darker blue than I used last time. My a is the coefficient of my x squared term, which is 3. Now, I go in my handy dandy little formula, and I start plugging in that information. So I have negative minus 12 over 2 times 3. Right? Negative 12 is b, a is 3. Negative times a negative makes a positive 12. Over 2 times 3 is 6, which gives me 2. So I have x equals 2. So x equals 2 is the axis of symmetry. Those are all abbreviations. Okay, so now if I want to graph, stray mark. If I want to graph this guy, my parabola, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I know my axis of symmetry is the vertical line x equals 2, so I go to when x equals 2, make my little dotted line going up and down, and now I know my parabola is going to, vaguely look something like this. It's opening upwards because my a term is positive. Something, let's do that second line over because that wasn't very good. That's a little bit better. So if I take this part and reflect it about this line, I should get this part. Notice how the lowest point on my graph occurs right here when x equals 2. Right, the axis of symmetry gives me the x component of my vertex. So x equals 2 is where the vertex occurs, right? Okay, well, that's all I've got for axis of symmetry. Basically, as long as you know this formula, x equals minus b over 2a, you're good to go. And the whole point of the axis of symmetry is giving you this vertical line right here that will make your parabola symmetric if you reflect it about and it also gives you the x component of your vertex. Okay, well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments, subscribe, like, share with your friends if they need, if they're struggling with this kind of stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye.